Hi, Nicola from SPAX here. Today we're going to show you how to build a deck properly, one that will look good, last for years and minimise cost and maintenance. A well-designed structure built with the correct materials, fasteners and tools and maintained annually with a water-repellent finish will extend the life of a deck by many years. We'll discover the most common deck building mistakes and design issues and show you how to avoid them to help ensure that your decking project runs smoothly. Let's talk about the 5 most common problem areas we see in new decks. These include the sealing, staining and storage of the timber, cupping and splitting of decking boards, loose and squeaky boards, screws that fail, and premature failure due to weathering or rotting of the timber. We're going to talk to some industry experts and build a mini deck to demonstrate how you can avoid these major problems. Before you start any work, the first step is to plan your deck. Contact your local council to check their requirements in your area to see whether you need planning approval and to find out the locations of sewage pipes and other services. Another important aspect is to make sure all building work complies with the relevant Australian or New Zealand building codes. Care is also required when fixing a deck to an existing structure, as this is a common source of deck failure. It's recommended that the deck should be self-supported on its own posts or piers off the exterior fabric of the building. Where this is not possible or the structure is elevated, advice from a structural engineer is required to ensure adequate fixing. Then you need to think about how the deck will be used and how you want it to look. This will affect the design and choice of materials. Remember, moisture is timber's worst enemy. Good design will allow water to run off and not pool, and good ventilation allows timber to dry quickly. So what timber will you use to build your deck and how will you protect it? To talk us through the options and to give us tips to avoid cupping, splitting and staining of the timber, here's Simon Brady from Ironbark Timber on Queensland's Sunshine Coast.
Thanks, Nicola. There are 4 basic categories of materials used for decking: treated pine, hardwood, engineered timber and composite decking. With timber decking, it's important to choose the right species and timber size for the project, depending on the climate, exposure and expected foot traffic. For example, 140 wide boards are good for undercover decks, while 90mm wide boards should be used for exposed decks to minimise cupping problems. Treated pine decking is mostly radiata pine that has been pressure treated to withstand decay, fungi and termites. It's probably the cheapest, but doesn't usually look as good or last as long as hardwood. It can also mark easily. On the plus side, it's lightweight, easy to work with and can be stained or painted easily. Treated pine still needs to be sealed and maintained, the same as any other timber. Hardwood looks fantastic, is exceptionally durable and hard wearing if maintained properly. It may cost a little more and be a little harder to work with, but this can be worth it because of the greater durability. Hardwood, like any other timber, needs to be resealed and maintained every year to stop it from deteriorating. Engineered timber is a 100% timber product made from veneers that are glued together. They come in straight 4 to 6 metre lengths and are more dimensionally stable than normal hardwood. Their lifespan will last longer if maintained properly. It contains no tannins, so it does not stain or bleed. Finally, most expensive option we have is composites, which are made from a range of materials containing wood fibre. Some even contain recycled materials. Now, it's very important that the decking timber you buy is stored correctly. I can't emphasise this enough. If it's not protected from moisture or harsh temperatures, boards can warp, crack, swell or end up with tannin stains. This is the most common error that can cause failures before you even get started. So it's very important to protect your decking timber from rain, frost or extreme temperatures before and during your build by storing it under cover in a dry, well-ventilated area. Kiln-dried timber will not be kiln-dried anymore after it's been rained on.
Lately we've seen several imported timbers like Garapa entering the market. These timbers can be excellent and very durable, but some are extremely high in tannic acid. Tannic acid is a natural timber preservative, but it's very corrosive. If your timber is wet, you will get black or blue stains from any contact with carbon steel, and even fingerprint stains. After inspecting many decks with severe staining and staining around the screw heads, SPAX conducted a series of field tests to determine if the drill bits or the 304 stainless steel screws could be the cause of the stains around the screw heads. The results of these tests show that you will get staining in both 304 and marine grade 316 stainless steel if the timber is wet during installation. The cause of the stains is from an accumulation of tannins from compressing the fibres around the screw head. These tannins will react with almost anything they come in contact with, even oxygen. It's quite an easy problem to avoid. Just keep your timber dry and seal it on all sides before you expose it to the elements. If you do end up with any stains, they can easily be removed with oxalic acid, available from your local hardware store. Next, how do we protect the timber? As Simon mentioned, it needs to be sealed before you start building. Here's Juan Cruz from Equisol to explain how.
It's important that a suitable finish be applied and maintained to protect the surface of your timber from weathering and maintain an attractive appearance. A good timber finish will slow down the rate at which the timber takes up or loses moisture. Timber is hygroscopic, meaning it absorbs water in cycles of swelling and shrinking to balance with its surrounding environment. The expansion and contraction, which is causing the cupping, warping and eventual splitting. From a durability perspective, the main function of timber finish is to slow down the rate which moisture gets in, reduces the severity of the checking on the surface. The finish should also contain a fungicide to prevent mould growing on any sugars or starches that may be present in the timber. There are two main types of timber finishes: film forming, such as semi-transparent water-based finishes, varnishes, and heavy-bodied stains. These form a layer on the surface of the timber and create a smooth skin on the surface. Penetrating finishes such as water repellents, some decking oils, and decking stains penetrate the surface of the timber and don't form a significant surface film. Due to the wear of foot traffic, penetration finishes are better for decking applications than film forming finishes. We will recommend the use of good quality oil-based penetrating decking oils to seal and protect your decking boards and joists. Choosing a light colour for your timber finish will help lower the timber's surface temperature and help avoid excessive surface checking. As a minimum, a protective finish should be applied to all surfaces, including any freshly cut ends of each decking board before they are fixed to the joists. You'll need to apply one or more coats after the deck is completed, depending on the product you're using. Today, many timber suppliers offer pre-coated timber to reduce the on-site work and provide protection all sides around. With pre-coated timber, we still have to seal any cuts and apply further coats after installation. If you want the natural age silver look on the timber, then simply use a clear or grey colour tone to achieve that effect. Do not let the timber age naturally. Maintenance is critical to keep your timber protected and looking good. If you are using a penetrating oil, a recoat every 6 to 12 months is recommended, depending on your local climate and sun exposure. A simple deck wash is enough to prepare the timber for a recoat. In most cases, no sanding is necessary. But if you're using a film forming coating and you're noticing bubbling or flaking, then the coating must be stripped off and sanded back before you reapply. Most exterior timber issues or decay is due to the protective finish failing. If you keep on top of that by maintaining the finish every 6 to 12 months, the timber will last and look good for many, many years. Remember, a roof will give your deck and your family the best possible protection all year round.
Thanks, Juan. Now, another important step when building a deck is to avoid over-tightening or damaging the screws. To do that, you need to use the right tools for the job. Here's Joey from Makita with some handy advice.
Hi, I'm Joey. I'm the Product and Training Specialist for Makita. Today we're here to discuss the right tool for the right job in regards to the SPAX decking screws. So what we have here today is our mid-range drill. This drill is probably used for the smaller type screws where the Newton meter range will suit the product or the screw that is being installed. With any of your drilling applications, you would need a drill that would have a minimum of 2000 RPM and above, making sure that you select the right tool for the right job. In saying that, here we have the SPAX hardwood step drill, and I'm going to show you how to insert it and tighten it up on a chuck. So with that, you put it in, you tighten up your chuck, it ratchets towards you, give it one click back. That engages the gears on the inside and actually locks them and stops your accessory piece from dropping out when you're actually drilling into your hardwood or your softwoods. In saying that, please read your instruction manual with any of the tools that you do purchase, just so you're aware of what the tool is capable of. Choosing the right drill for the application. With these SPAX washer heads, you will need a larger drill for inserting these into your hardwoods, only because you're not pre-drilling, and these will go in there nice and fine with our new 40 volt drill. With this unit, you do have 141 Newton meters of torque behind it, with the side handle for you to actually grip on and insert these into your hardwood timbers. At the end of the day, when you buy a Makita product, you know you're going to get a long-lasting tool, a tool that will complete, and you'll be happy with the performance of that tool. With that, you get really good runtime with our battery platform. Plus, we have all metal gear construction on the inside, which can tackle those really hard jobs. You need to choose the right tool for the right job with the right accessory for the job that you're going to be doing.
Next, to demonstrate how to avoid some of the other decking failures, we're going to build a small model of a deck. As I mentioned earlier, you'll need to check your local building code on how much clearance you need off the ground for ventilation. This varies between Australia and New Zealand and from state to state. Good ventilation and a dry, well-drained ground surface under your deck are vital to a long-lasting and low-maintenance deck. The same goes with the joist spacing. Check your local code. Normally, it should be 400 to 450 millimetres, depending on the type of joist, decking material and load requirements. Before we start, remember to seal all the timber, including the joists. As we heard earlier from our experts, make sure you have all necessary safety gear and that you have the right tools, as Joey highlighted, and know how to use them safely. Now, loose and squeaky boards, screw failures and premature rotting of your deck can all be avoided with the right choice of screw. Do not use nail guns, galvanised nails or batten screws. They're not purpose-made for decks. No one wants loose boards on their deck. They're unsafe, noisy and unpleasant to walk on. And no one wants to get sued for creating tripping hazards. Your choice of screws is vital. There's a reason why German-made SPAX screws are so popular with professional builders, landscapers, councils and government organisations.
Just imagine a decking screw with brains. A cut point that cuts and guides the screw precisely. Unique ground serrations that cut through the wood fibres like a sharp knife, significantly reducing splitting and torque. Imagine a screw that doesn't rely on the head to hold the boards down. A double thread technology fixes and locks the board securely in place. A small, low-impact cylindrical head with a drive recess that enables the bit to apply maximum force transmission. A screw system that offers high-tech drilling technology for pre-drilling and cutting a precise recess for the screw head, even in the hardest of timbers. The result of a screw this smart? A fast and easy low-torque installation with a beautiful professional finish. A screw that works with the wood, not against it. Wood shrinks in hot and dry weather. This creates a gap between the decking board and the support frame. Thanks to the double thread technology, boards are locked tightly in place. No squeaky or loose decking boards. In humid and wet conditions, the decking boards can freely swell up without putting any load on the screw head. Imagine a decking screw with brains.
SPAX decking screws are specifically designed for use on decks to work with the timber, not against it. On our sample deck here, we have 3 hardwood joists, 2 spotted gum, and the middle one is ironbark. For our decking, we also have hardwood, spotted gum, and Kowila. just to show that there is no real difference in the process. When using hardwood decking, we recommend you also use hardwood joists. Before you start, it's important to make sure your joists are straight and you start out straight and square. The first board is always the most important to get straight. Pick your straightest board and use a straight edge or string line to make sure you start in a perfect straight line. To save time, we've already prepared everything here. The next step is to make sure that your boards are not sitting proud of the joists and check that no debris is caught under your boards. Always leave a gap between the boards. This is done easily with a couple of SPAX spaces. As a rule, for kiln-dried timber, leave a gap between the boards of a minimum of 5% of the board width. So for 90mm decking boards, leave a 4.5mm gap. And for 140mm decking boards, leave a 7mm gap. This will allow the timber to freely swell up in wet weather. The SPAX Kaiman Pro is a simple tool to straighten and clamp your boards in place. This will give you 2 free hands to screw your boards down safely and easily. There's no need to use a chisel or straps to pull your deck board straight. Mark and measure all your screws to achieve a straight screw line. There are a few different ways you can do this. You can mark a line through the centre of the joist and use a square, or you can use a string line or just a simple straight edge. Use the SPAX hardwood step drill 4 at high speed and let the drill cut into the timber without putting pressure on it. Control the drill carefully so that the second step cutter enters the timber slowly and gently to avoid splintering. Do not use the collar of the step drill as a depth stop. In hardwood, we recommend you clear the shavings out of the hole to prevent any burning or seizing of the drill bit in the timber. There's no need to stagger the screws if you are pre-drilling the full length of the screw into the joist. For screw lengths of over 70mm, we offer a long version of the 4mm drill bit that can be used with the SPAX step drill. SPAX decking screws use a SPAX T-Star Plus drive bit, which is engineered to lock into the screw head quickly and easily and maximise the torque transfer from the drill to the screw so the drive bit does not slip out or burr out the head. Now when driving in the screw, make sure you do not stop and start. Drive the screw home in one go. This will avoid damaging the screw by exceeding the maximum torque load. Just keep repeating these same steps until your deck is complete. You might have to give the decking boards a light sand to remove any unwanted finger or pencil marks before applying further coats of oil. It doesn't matter if you're building a deck, a boardwalk, or just a small walkway in the garden. The basic steps we've shown you here always remain the same. So there you go. It's pretty simple. If you use the right tools, quality materials, and follow the right steps without taking shortcuts, you'll get a clean, professional job every time. But the job doesn't end there. Just as your car needs maintenance, every deck needs maintenance too. An annual safety check is highly recommended to ensure the deck is safe. If your deck is elevated, you should always know the capacity, how many people it can hold safely. Look after it and your deck will look after you and your family for many years to come. Building a deck properly takes some time and hard work, but the result is rewarding and you'll end up with a deck that'll increase the value of your property, last for years, and make you proud every time you look at it. At SPAX, we warrant the quality of all of our products worldwide. Please ensure that you follow each of the steps in this video to make sure that your warranty isn't void. Remember, you'll never regret doing a job properly. If you have any further questions, please send us an email or just give us a call. Well, cheers to a job well done.
SPAX decking screws. Made smart, made in Germany.